10 properties within the first year.
Because though the problems might be different, the principles in solving them are the exact same. Be still, sit, think through the solution, and then iterate and solve. Does that make sense? Beautiful.
And on what I really want to create.
Most of man's problem arises from the fact that they
Constantly, as you're leveling up in business, you also get new opportunity, right? And opportunity from even different areas that maybe don't align 100% with the vision that you're trying to create.
something is supposed to be a way because we said it's going to be, but then reality shows you no, it's not that way. Like, wake up, buddy. You need to work with reality.
Why did I move to Colombia? Honestly, I think that's what I really built the business for, just to give me the freedom to be able to travel. I already spent much of my money traveling a lot where I could just to see the world. And I realized the world is so much bigger than just staying in like our hometown or whatever. So I just wanted to be able to like keep that going, be able to travel and live in different places for certain, months. And the best way to do that is have funds that are just constantly coming in, and I'm not tied to it. I can just be wherever and travel. What do I eat?
I didn't move here.
Well, why do you? Okay, all right.
But same with you, bro, to be honest with you. Just that freedom. I don't want anything to stop me. Like, I don't want any physical thing to stop me from being able to do the thing that I want to do in anything, right? If I want to go and travel, if I'm going to go and, like, I have this philosophy in life. It basically means like max out everything. If I want to go and run a 10K, I want to be able to go and run a 10K, If I want to hike to the top of the mountain, I want to be able to hike to the top of the mountain. If I want to travel, I want to be able to travel. I don't want to ask somebody permission to do something that I want to do. I want to remove as much friction as possible between me and the thing that I want. I think that's what I'm trying to say. And that's just always been a philosophy of mine. How can I remove as much friction? If I want to, let's just say, let's say I want to go to Europe for 6 months out of the year, right? Or I want to raise my kids in Thailand. I want to be able to just do that. I don't want to, like, of course, there's planning, there's strategizing, there's making sure that it works out. But at the same time, I don't want to not be able to for reasons that are outside of me. Like my family, if they're financially dependent on me, they wouldn't be able to afford me not being there. So now I can't go because my parents depend on me, So I want to be in a situation financially where I can just do whatever I want to do and it won't affect the people around me. So if I am taking care of my family and I want to travel, I want to be able to take care of them and also be able to travel, right?
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons I chose Airbnb, and especially because of that recurring revenue portion.
Yeah.
And now I'm experiencing that, especially right now as we're getting to a place where we've scaled enough that I can now start really, like, I even traveled last year. So last year was also a pretty good year. But compared to like 3 years ago where I couldn't leave almost ever and I barely traveled, to now traveling at 3 to 6 months out of the year, it's genuinely a blessing. And when your job isn't tied or your income isn't tied to like you physically being there, you'll notice that the expenses tend to be quite similar. Like, even if you were back home right now, you'd spend almost the same. You know what I mean? But now you're not tied to a singular place. You don't have those golden handcuffs.
Yeah. You mentioned maxing out certain things in your life, and I completely subscribe to that. I believe in life maxing. One of my favorite words is just life maxing all of the stats of life, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially.
Yeah.
What does, maxing out all of the stats and everything mean to you? And do you feel like in this certain period of your life, you can only focus on 2 right now and then work on like spirituality later? Are you sacrificing some areas, or are you trying to push all of them forward?
That's a great question. I see life in seasons. And I think we spoke about this before, or seasons or phases, right? Alex Ramosi had this amazing quote. I forgot exactly how it goes, so I'm gonna butcher it. He was basically saying, when you ask somebody, like if somebody works, like let's just say 7 days a week, and you look at that or 6 days a week, and you look at that over the span of 6 months, you'd say this person has no life, right? But if you look at it as, okay, he works 7 days a week for 6 months, and then he takes a year and a half off, the balances have changed. The scales have changed, right? Yeah. It's about the time horizon. When people see that we work all these hours and they see that, oh, all we do is work and there's no work-life balance, I'm working for the next 5 to 10 years so I can have the next 50 off, you know? And if you look at it from that perspective, I'm no longer overworking. I'm actually doing a very amazing trade. I'm trading the next 5 years of just growth and work and building for the next 50 years of freedom. So it's no longer choosing one or the other. So in terms of phases, right now, the phase is simply just building, right? Getting myself, my family to a point financially where we're okay and we don't have to rely on outside forces to take care of us. We can take care of ourselves and be independent. Like sovereignty is my favorite saying, like being a sovereign individual. And once I've reached that point, then I can kind of take the foot off the pedal because then you have momentum. And once your momentum is working for you, man, like things actually work for you. Now I can start focusing on the family life, focusing on other things. But you asked an amazing question, like what about the spirituality aspect? I think that's the foundation. I think that's where things really begin. And then you take that with you. So you don't let go of what you've built when you get to the next phase. You actually take that with you. So that spirituality is the underpin of the building phase. And then when I focus on my family, it'll be the underpin of that phase as well. Because the business is just an outcome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
Where did you get saying life maxing? I've heard it before.
Yeah, I just, I don't know. I saw it online, and sometimes you see certain things and it just like resonates with you on a very deep level. But I saw like you always hear maxing, you know, different phrases and maxing this, maxing that. But life maxing is just so like beautiful of a concept to me because I don't know, I guess in a way I am building fulfillment in different avenues, but if I can really max out my life, you know, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially, and looking back on that when I'm 80 years old, I'm always trying to think of like, what would future me be most proud of? Probably building a business that gave me the freedom to work on maybe even the other things, my relationships, my being able to travel the world, just staying in one little spot, being able to see what the world is really like, making really cool connections and thinking back on moments. I probably, looking back when I'm like 80 years old, won't really think about 100% like exactly how much money I made.
Yeah.
I'll be thinking about like, what are the relationships I really established and what were the experiences that really like, and chapters that really made an influence on my life. That I look back and I'm like, wow, I really moved to Colombia and managed this whole business for 2 years of my life, and I was, you know, making relationships with other entrepreneurs. I was dancing salsa. I was, you know, on rooftops and that's having experiences, you know. So it's life maxing in that way. And how did I feel while I was doing all of these different things, right? So working on the spirituality aspect that really grounded me, kept me humble, kept life really fulfilling, connecting to some sort of like higher power or even connecting to myself, because a lot of people are just like working, but why are they really working?
Exactly.
They're like a little bit kind of unconscious and just, oh, I guess I need to make money, right? But why am I making money? What
is it all for?
What is it all for? Like we're working towards money at the end of the day, but you only really know what you're working for until you actually use that money to do certain things, right? Yeah. And the ability to create this business and be able to detach from the business allows you to then go venture out into different things, explore.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what life is. It's like an adventure, I guess, to a certain extent.
That's so sick. Okay, so let's do this. Introduce yourself, just in case, because I'm gonna be posting this on my channel, and you're probably gonna be posting this in yours. So for the people who might be watching this, and some may be looking to get into Airbnb, some are just looking to see young people win. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Who are you and where are we? And tell me a little bit about us.
Okay. So for anybody watching, I am Sebastian Perez. I'm just about 30 years old, even though I have a little bit of a baby face, I would say. But I have been pretty industrious in different entrepreneurial endeavors since I was like 15. I just love entrepreneurship. Or even since younger, I was like selling duct tape wallets when I was just a little kid. But I just love entrepreneurship. I was that kid that loved like Monopoly when I was a kid. And I just think of business like Monopoly in real life, right? Rather than, playing a video game and maxing the stats in that game. I decided to like give that up and try to max out life, so to speak. So I built multiple businesses. We all have like failure stories, and I have plenty of mine. Even before Airbnb, ended up quite in debt from like another exporting business that I tried to start out of Colombia. But I ended up getting into Airbnb off of like a podcast, off of like curiosity, feeling that it really aligned with me. And I went all in on it. I, sold a Harley just to fund it with a quick 10K, set up the first home. And, within the first year, was able to set up 10 properties.
Oh,
and
that's it. And
10 properties within the first year, because I just went all in. The best way to like, you really max something out is you go all in certain seasons. So by, year and a half, I had 14 properties. And nowadays, years later, I'm somewhere around like 30 luxury properties. And I focus on like 3-bedroom, larger homes and luxury properties. And it provides for me. It gives me the freedom to be able to, work when I want, wherever I want, and kind of, and have all of those freedoms: financial freedom, time freedom, and location freedom. Yeah. And hence I'm even using the location freedom right now. I'm living from Colombia. So, I just love self-development. At the core of everything, I just love self-development. And I think entrepreneurship is the highest form of self-development. And I am constantly like excited to wake every day to work towards my business, because it just grows me in so many different areas. And I'm growing something for not only me, really to see who I can be and what I can do, but also for like my family, and give me the freedom to be able to keep working on myself and then help other people with it. Right. So, but I'm curious about you. Like, where are you at now? Mm-hmm. What is this version of Geo?
This version of Geo is an amalgamation of all the shit I went through. But without like kind of going into a whole spiel, started the business, I think it's been 3 years now. And last year we had the biggest scale. I don't remember the exact amount. I think we picked up 50 properties just last year. And this year, I think we're already at like 7, and we're 3 or 4 months in. And the first year, I think I was at 1 or 2 for the entire year. And that's because I put so much money into these properties that I just couldn't afford to get another one. But these properties, like one of them basically replaced my income. It made over, like in the first full year, it made 125,000 or so, which is pretty insane. And then it's literally replicated that. Now I'm in Colombia, visiting this guy here. And I know it's been a dope journey, man. It's been insane. I'm grateful for every single part of it. I think Airbnb is probably one of the best business models ever, because of the fact that I have a property that I set up literally 3 years ago. And that singular property makes me over $100,000 every single year. Like, it's been consistent literally every single year. And I enjoy it. I love the game. And it's simple math. Like, you have one that's doing $100,000 a year. You just get 10 of those. It's like the math is very, very simple. I think people try to overcomplicate it. Oh, but like, how do I get funding? Oh, but like, how do I get this? Oh, but just go and do it. Like, go have the conversation. Because what happens is when you start making moves and actually start working towards it and asking questions and taking steps, the world will literally shift to let you in. If a door is closed and it won't open, find another door and keep going, because one will open. If the door you're trying to open isn't opening, it's because that door isn't meant for you. You just keep going, and that's what all our failures are. But the thing is, we didn't stop. We just kept going. The door wouldn't open. Okay, let me find another. That door wouldn't open. Let me find another. Because you look at it, you look through enough doors, you're gonna find that. But I think the mistake people make is the iteration aspect of it, right? The first property I looked at, I didn't get a yes. The second property I looked at, I didn't get it. The 10th property, the 100th property, I looked at 1,000 houses before I got that first one. 1,000. Most people stop at 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
I stopped just about it. I got a yes like in probably the first like 20 properties that I've called, and instantly just went and saw the owner and kind of just set it up and took a chance. I honestly, that's the biggest like difference between like me in the beginning and me now. Like in the beginning, I was kind of just doing everything like, flying on the seat of my pants, kind of trying to figure it out and getting even proof of concept. I heard it on like a podcast, and I just jumped into the first property. And thankfully, the numbers were good. And later on, I had a property, the numbers were not so good, that taught me to really get deep into the numbers and even picked up a mentor and certain things like that. But yeah, there's ups and downs to this. So what is, I'm curious what like one of the ups and downs for you might be in your journey.
I think the biggest that I went through was when, so I took out a lot of debt to cover the first house. And even though that debt was, the listing was profitable, it took longer than anticipated. So when I first started, I didn't have the resources that I have now to make sure things are going to be profitable. So when I did the analysis, it was supposed to be like a 40-50% profit margin. It ended up being closer to, I think, 20 or so. So the length that it took me to like recoup was like literally 2 times longer. And the financial difficulties I went through because those projections were off was probably the lowest point, to the point where like I almost had to declare bankruptcy. But I truly believe that, first of all, I didn't quit. I just kept going. I said, like, it's either I'm going to succeed or I'm going to die. Like, there's no option where I tell the owner I can't pay the rent and so I'm not doing that. I'm going to figure it out. And I think when I said that to the world, I'm going to go figure it out and I'm not going to stop, it was like, okay, you're not going to stop? I might as well give you more, you know? So, but then I got the second property, and that's a whole nother story. I got the second property. That second property was so profitable, it helped me pay off the first one. And then now I had 2 properties that were profitable and we're just absolutely skilled. So that's been my story. You said you had a property that didn't do so well. What happened?
Yeah, I had a certain property that did not do so well, and it's because I didn't follow certain like principles and standards that I have set nowadays. You know, I made probably one of the biggest errors that a lot of people make and business and life, and going into a investment and not necessarily like doing the numbers, and more so doing it on like an emotional feel. Like you find a house that you find that it looks really cool, you really think it's going to be nice, and I just went out of my actual standards of how I invest into a property, and I ended up creating like a theme home. It's called the Pink Flamingo.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was like a retro, because it was in Palm Beach. It was like a retro Palm Beach vintage, you know, that like mint color, pink flamingos, that kind of stuff.
Sounds dope.
It sounded really cool in theory, but it just I think people just really like to gravitate towards properties that are a little bit more modern, to be honest, in my certain market. And it was a deal from actually another landlord, from the same landlord, but it was like 15 minutes west of a really good property, and just by 15 minutes west,
That big of a difference.
I was no longer like close to the beach, and it just made a big effect. Most of the properties I have are along the coast, so that people can actually use the beach and use that amenity.
How far usually they are from the beach?
How far was Pink Flamingo?
How far is Pink Flamingo, and also your standard from the beach for your market?
Yeah, so my market, I just want to be like 5 to 10 minutes within the beach, right? So if I go 15, 20 minutes west, it's just like a completely different experience.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So just knowing how to invest into certain properties based on like a city level, a zip code level, down to like just a neighborhood level, and really understand the competition, like what's in there. So I can emulate the same product that this other Airbnb has. So I can easily just use software to be able to be like, oh, wow, these 5 to 8 homes are each earning 120,000. So if I were to set up a home that matches that style and what people actually like in this market, and then emulate that product, create the same, you know, home in this certain neighborhood that has these same amenities, I also will earn 120,000. I'm no longer creating some sort of theme home that's never been seen before, don't really have a lot of data on it. Instead, emulating what works will give you a pretty surefire way to be able to like make as much money as these other people,
100%.
and accurately be able to predict your like margins on it. Right?
Yeah, you know what's crazy, and I think this is my least favorite thing that people do, and what a lot of people do that I've seen. So last year I spend a lot of time coaching and helping people, and I know you do as well to a very large scale. And we'll talk about that. But the biggest thing that I noticed is that people design homes and listings based on how they feel. Like they think it's gonna perform, they think it's gonna look nice, they think people are gonna book. And I always tell my students, because I'm like, I try to be as kind as possible, but when it comes to business, it's like, no, these are the facts, right? And I have this philosophy. Tell me what you think about it, because mine is kind of harsh. It's like, my opinion doesn't fucking matter. Like what I think doesn't matter. It's what the market tells me. So when a student comes to me and says, hey, I think this is going to be good because of this, and I think this, and I think people are going to, I'm like, okay, where's the data? Oh no, I don't have any data. I just feel it. I'm like, the market doesn't care about what you think or feel is going to work.
Yeah.
Because when someone books a house, they're not going to look at the house and say, how did this person feel about the listing that they were making that makes me want to, they don't give a shit. They see a nice house in a nice neighborhood with nice amenities, and then they book it, right? There's a certain amount of things that they're going to be looking for. And if those things aren't there, they're not going to book it, right? So I see that all the time, and I tell people, like, never come to me without data. Like, for everything that you say, there has to be data backed by it. And then when you have enough data, then let your gut feeling take over. Because what I truly believe your gut feeling is, and we can have a philosophical conversation about your gut feeling, but then we can have a statistical conversation about your gut feeling. And when you look at enough data points, and look at 100, 1,000, 10,000 data points, your gut feeling can now, like, it doesn't even have to be intellectual. Your gut sees all of these things, and it can now start making assumptions based on what it's seen before. And that's what you use to be able to now make that gut feeling. But if you're making a gut feeling with no data, then it's simply delusional, you know? And I've made that mistake before in other ventures of my life where I thought, oh, this will work because I think it's going to work. But then what happens is you have this, it's like a cognitive dissonance where something is supposed to be a way because you said it's going to be, but then reality shows you, no, it's not that way. Like, wake up, buddy. You need to work with reality. So what's your take on that? And have you had like that experience too?
I would say that my philosophy that I basically give to students is, in the beginning, everything is going to be uncomfortable, right? When you're stretching towards wanting to accomplish some sort of goal, everything's going to feel uncomfortable. And when it feels uncomfortable, this change feels uncomfortable, investing into a new space, trying to learn a whole new skill, there's a lot of uncomfortability in the beginning. So I advise them to feel emotional about it and use your gut feeling. Later on, once you have kind of but gotten really heavy on the skill of being able to look at a bunch of different data. So I think in the beginning, we should try to be almost as unemotional as.
And that's hard.
Yeah, it's very hard.
That's hard.
Very hard, because you're like going through all of these properties. It's your first one. It's like, what? Oh, this feels right. It looks really beautiful. The first properties people give to me typically are the ones that they feel like looks really cool or it looks really emotional. Oh, I'd love to have this as my first property. But data, like the data shows differently. So get really good on like the market research, on the property analysis to see how much profitability it has. And then, make 20 to 30 calls. And then you distill it down to, 5 people are kind of interested. Then you distill it down to maybe you get 3 people that potentially you have the deal on the line.
Yeah.
And then even go further, negotiate it. See what best negotiation terms that you can come to. Okay. And then you have 3 properties that are potentially negotiated. And then you make the decision, what feels right based on the data that's presented to me, the deal that's on the table, what feels right at the last final moment, then you pull the trigger, right? Then you sign the fine line, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of people reverse that and get it pretty wrong, where they're emotional from the beginning before learning the skill. But you need to learn the skill and live in that uncomfortability.
Yeah.
And then with your the last 5%, be emotional.
No, actually, the next question that I had for you, I guess, was, okay, with that being said then, what do you think, what kind of mindset does it take for someone from kind of the experience you've had of helping students? What do you see in terms of like patterns of people who for a fact they're going to succeed? And not just in Airbnb, because I feel like the skill sets and the mindset you take in one you can use in any business, right? So what is it that you've noticed that allows people to be successful in Airbnb or in any business in general?
Yeah. I would probably, if I were to distill it down to the smallest principles that make a certain student successful, and I'm able to really identify it from just the beginning, it's one, they have a strong enough why, strong enough vision, right? Because you're going into something that's uncomfortable, you need an anchor. You need something as to why you're doing this exactly. If you're just monotonously just doing the work, you don't have a vision. You're like, oh, I'm doing this for my family. Oh, I'm doing this to escape my 9 to 5. And if you're able to hold on to that vision that typically is not a very small vision, most of us are destined to be great in certain things. And if you're destined to be great and you really believe you can be great, it's probably a big goal. And you got to hold on to that goal throughout the entire process, because if you're getting like too emotional about, you know, a couple homes or whatever it might be, you have to, one home is not going to make you abundantly rich, right? It's, oh, I need to free myself from my job and for my family with 8 homes. Okay, so everything in the interim is just, I have to move quick on it. I have to move quick and I have to do speed, which brings me to the second thing, which is the biggest defining factor is speed of like implementation.
1,000.
We all hear this certain quote that business loves speed.
Yes.
And it's basically, can you have an idea?
Another one that I heard, sorry, is like money loves speed.
Money loves speed. Business loves speed. Life loves speed. And what that really means is the gap between, oh, this is like a brilliant idea, and then execution. You have a brilliant idea, and we have tons of them all throughout the day. You have $1 million ideas every single day. But can you just run just as fast as possible, be able to implement this idea, right? And the faster that you can implement this idea, the faster you're going to get to your goal, the faster you're going to get feedback, the faster you're going to get results. That strengthens your belief in it, right? And then the third thing, it would likely be the Pareto principle, right? Or the 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
So it's focusing on the 20% of things that will drive you forward the fastest to your goal, right? We get often caught up in the 80% of stuff that doesn't necessarily matter in the beginning, or it kind of matters, but not really. It's like, oh, what accountant should I have? Maybe I should make my website. Maybe I should.
What should my LLC be called?
LLC be called. Maybe I should, redo my website 5 times until it's perfect. No. Focus on, typically in the beginning, sales and marketing, right? And that is creating something rather than just staying in what's comfortable.
Consuming.
Yeah, and consuming, right? We're really good at expending and making expenses.
Yeah.
Right? We're good at the comfortable stuff, like the dilly-dally of just like the to-do list and trying to knock 100% of the things out.
We're trying to understand everything before we take that step.
And our body wants to stay close to what feels comfortable, but it's really making the phone calls.
Yep.
It's really trying to make deals work. It's the sales and the marketing.
Driving into the house, talking to the landlords, trying to negotiate and close the deal.
Putting ourselves out there,
Yes.
despite what anybody else might think. So it's really just like having a vision, having speed to be able to implement a good idea to executing. How can I reduce that gap as much as possible? And then once I'm in the work of actually doing, how can I really center myself so I'm focused on that 20% of stuff that really will drive me forward the fastest?
I have a question for you. So now let's say you are 17 years old, 16, 17 years old, and you are in a place or in a phase of your life where you just don't need, or you're 20 years old, or you're 25, or you're 40 years old, right? And you've tried to find your why. You've thought about it for a very long time. You've sat down and you've kind of had a why, but like it's nothing very solid, right? How do you go and identify that why from like your experience? Like what would you tell your 17-year-old self? And then the second part to that is, when do you know when you've found it? Because I think that's another thing that people miss, is they don't know when they found it. And some people, they like, and it's just something that you can miss. So help me like kind of identify or shed some light on that.
This is something that you can actually even manufacture. I truly believe, I had a mentor explain this to me. I asked them the same question. So many people come to me asking the same question. Yeah. How can I find my why? How can I find my purpose? And it's kind of simple in the sense that, one, to preface it, even Jordan Peterson talks about this, is your meaning in life is tantamount or equal to the amount of responsibility that you can carry on your shoulders. Once you're responsible for other people, for your business, you have risk in the game, all of this becomes a little bit more meaningful because you are locked in. You're in this. You're in this, okay? So it's one, how can I pick up enough responsibility so that I develop meaning within this? But taking it a step back, how do I even pick the thing to carry responsibility in? So basically, formula would be go engage or look at a bunch of different businesses. Look at a bunch of different things that kind of interest you. Engage with those things. And once the engagement leads to like fascination within something,
Some level of success as well.
some level of success, then you work on mastery,
Yeah.
right? And then you focus on mastery and really developing that one skill. And then that skill, along with the responsibility, with working it day by day,
Yeah.
it's constantly something that you think about that learns and that lends to just passion and it lends to meaning, right? So, yeah, I'm curious, what is your, that's a really powerful question in general. Like how do you find meaning in something, right? How do you know? I'm a person that is constantly stimulated by so many different things, so many different business models that I see online. How do I know really what to pick and develop meaning in?
So the reason that that question is so difficult to answer is because everybody is so vastly different that for some people, some advice might not work. And for some people, it could be the best thing that they've ever heard, right? You can tell someone that meaning is spiritual and they'll be like, what? Go fuck yourself. I don't even know what that means, you know? Like there's so many things that have gone on in their lives that anything that has to do with spirituality is completely like doesn't even make sense. And whereas you can talk to somebody else and give them a statistical and a step-by-step way to get to meaning, but because there's no spirituality in it, you've lost them, right? So I would say, from my experience, even though I've only been in this world for 26 years, and I think I became conscious at 5 years ago, to be honest.
Okay.
So I think there's two types of people with two different types of meaning. And I'm going to try to articulate this the best way that I can, because this is something that I went through. But you have the first aspect, and I'm going to start with spiritual, which is your God-given meaning, your God-given purpose. I truly believe that everybody came here for a reason, right? And that you have proclivities towards certain things. You're better at some things than you are at others. And there's a pull that you have. When people sit long enough with themselves and ask themselves the same question enough times, their soul will give them an answer. And I truly believe that. I think that the people who haven't found the meaning in life is because they just haven't asked themselves that question enough and then listened even longer. You know, if I were to tell you it takes 1,000 hours of intentional listening to find your meaning, now what we've basically done is we've made meaning a physical achievement. If I were to tell you, okay, to be a millionaire, you have to fail 150 times. You have to fail 150 times. How quickly would you want to get to 150 failures? Pretty quick. You want to fail like 10 times today, you know? Whereas most people think that to succeed, you need to avoid failure. Does that make sense? So I think it's the same thing with meaning. The way I see meaning is, how can I ask myself this spiritually? How can I ask myself this question and stay in it for at least 1,000 hours? The thing is, it might not even take 1,000 hours. It might take you 3. It might take you 20. But in that journey, in that pursuit of that seeking, you're going to find your meaning 1,000%. So I guess that would be my spiritual answer. If I would look at the other side of the coin, I found meaning through success. I could do anything. Like I could have been a lawyer. I dropped out of law school. I could have been a doctor. I could have been an engineer. I could have done any of these things. I truly believe that when you find like you said, you can manufacture meaning. When you find a measure of success and then you don't hate the fact that you're successful in it, you know what I mean? You can now create meaning within that thing. So I'll give you an example for me with Airbnb, right? If you asked me 5 years ago, George, you're going to be an Airbnb host and you're going to be building a 7-figure business around hospitality and talking to people, I'd say, go get fucked. What are you talking about? You know, I'm a salesperson. I'm a salesperson at heart. I want to be able to sell things, and I come from a background where it's a lot of hustle and bustle. Like you hustle and you bustle. You hustle, you move, you find different ways to make money. You just do all these things. It's never been like, let me just create a system or an infrastructure. I never believed that. But when I did Airbnb, right, and I simply just went through the motion of learning from the right people, acquiring the right knowledge, studying, iterating, just doing the thing, and I got my first property, and that property made me money, and I got my second property, and that property made me money, and I got my third property, and that made me money. Then I realized even if I wasn't emotionally and spiritually attached to this business, the things it has done for me and the things that it will allow me to do for the world, I am meant to now do this. I am going to do this because I know that through this avenue and through this vehicle, I can now do so much more for the world. And now my parents don't have to pay the bills, for example. You know what I mean? My kids don't have to suffer. My significant other doesn't have to work. Because of this business, my life now has meaning, if you will, because I've created something. I've created something that blesses me and blesses the people around me. Does that make sense? So it's the act of creation that creates meaning, if you will. And I think that's a more, you no longer need the spiritual aspect of it for some people, because I don't know what happens to people's souls, you know? So those people who aren't spiritually inclined, they can find meaning by just doing something, getting extremely good at it, and then now that thing takes care of you and the people around you, you can consider that meaning, because as long as it does good for the world, then I think people will find meaning in that. But for me, it was always spiritual. For me, it was always, I was born on this earth. I don't think it was an accident. I am meant to do something. My meaning isn't Airbnb. My meaning is impact. I want to have an impact on as many souls as I possibly can in this world. Airbnb is the vehicle that was going to get me there. Airbnb put me in a financial bracket where I'm able to now no longer have to spend my mental energy focusing on how can I make my next dollar, or my mental energy focus on I don't want to go to work today. And I've been able to take that energy, and that's like, that energy is sacred. The energy of let me go, like that survival energy where you always have to survive, taking that energy and turning it into energy to thrive. That is a fundamental shift. When you're no longer in survival mode and you're now in, okay, how can I build and how can I be of abundance mode, and you're not worried about like, what meal am I going to eat? The things you create from that state is powerful.
Okay, but oftentimes,
Yes.
and I love that, oftentimes people find it really hard to make that switch from scarcity to abundance, right? And oftentimes I believe it's very deeply ingrained in how we were raised and like how we grew up. But what deep-seated beliefs around money did you have to like override, or even abundance override, to switch from that scarcity to more thinking in terms of abundance? Or are you still like in that scarcity mode in certain things? Or
Amazing question. That's a battle I fight every single day, because my mindset isn't mine. It's the ideas, philosophies, words from the people that are around me that raised me, you know? So I have to consciously and actively fight it every single day. But my belief around money was, money is meant to be spent. You make a little bit of money, you spend it, right? And I truly believe that's the case for everyone, because I see it as like my financial thermostat. My financial thermostat used to be at $3,000 a month. So at $3,000 a month, I'm good. Anything above it, I'm a little bit uncomfortable. I have to spend significantly more just to get me back to that financial thermostat of that $3,000 per month. And then when I'm making less than $3,000 a month, oh my goodness, I'm not making enough money. I'm in survival mode. I have to get back for that $3,000 a month. So this was my financial thermostat, and I made that a number. I looked at it and I said, this is the number. Okay? So that question of how did I switch my mindset, I used numbers to do that. And I said to myself, how can I create how can I be the version of myself that can manage and handle significant amounts of money? Okay, let me see what happens when I start making a little bit of money. And I noticed that when I made a little bit more money, I started spending. And I made a little bit more and I started spending. So I had to actively stop myself when I felt like spending, to take a step back and say no, because this action that I'm about to embark on is not me doing it. It's my subconscious mind that's deeply rooted to who I used to be. You know, growth is a constant battle of pushing back the old version of yourself that wants to form. Like, it's not, oh, I've changed my mindset, I'm a new man, all my problems are gone. No, motherfucker, that's not how it works. Those problems will wanna. How do I explain this? Learning is when you come across the same situation, but you act differently. That's what learning is, and that's what growth is. The situations will always come, and they'll always be relatively the same. It's how you react to those same situations. That's what defines growth. So for me, the problems never stopped. If anything, they got bigger. But it was my conscious understanding that, okay, identifying that, okay, if I'm going to try to make more money, more expenses are going to pop up out of nowhere, just like freaking magic. You know what I mean? More situations are going to come to them and take my money. I have to understand that this is a battle. This is like the enemy coming and trying to play tricks to get me to spend more money. And I have to realize that this is just a facade. It's my mind conjuring this. I'm not going to embark on it. I'm not going to indulge in this. I'm better not. Because I know that if I indulge and I can indulge, I'm going to be in the same situation next month where I'm now, I spend the money, I'm in the same place. Next month, I make a little bit more money, but another situation that looks the same, that's going to be the same, but it's going to have the exact same outcome is going to come. Let me understand this now and make a different decision. That's been how I've been able to stave it off, by understanding that this is going to happen. It's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows. It's going to be actively trying to bring you back down, and you have to consciously see it for what it is. And once you've identified it and you know that this is going to happen, it's so much easier because now you're fighting a battle and an enemy that you can see and you understand, rather than, I don't know why it's not working. Does that kind of make sense?
Oh, it makes perfect sense. And it kind of, what you've explained is basically something that even comes from like a book that I learned it from, this book, Psycho-Cybernetics. And it's essentially, what I really feel is the biggest like determinant of success overall is self-identity, or who your core self-concept of who you are is. So honestly, that's even something that I like advise in all of like my mindset, Airbnb, I'm implementing into my Airbnb program. It's really being clear on who's that 2.0 version of myself that I need to become. And the 1.0 version has given me the life that I currently have. How does this 2.0 version of me really move? What do they think about? What do they let affect them? What people do they hang around with?
Yeah.
What vices did they get rid of their life? And what are their certain standards? What are their certain principles? Oh, my 2.0 version, he's determined. He's consistent. He believes in abundance. He is focused. He meditates every day. He works out. He works on himself. So having from the get-go a really clear understanding of like who the 2.0 version of me is, and trying to act as in accordance like with that version, that 2.0 version. And if you're really set on who that identity is that you want to become, all of the mental chatter that comes inevitably as we like are going into something and something's very uncomfortable, you now can base it out of that frame of that 2.0 version. Is this something that my 2.0 version, is this what they would do? Or would they probably not do that and they would put in the extra hours, you know? So I often say, just in terms of decisions, what is the 2.0 version? What would they do? And then also in terms of just making decisions, it's like my personal frame, because I love like frameworks to help me, make me think of these certain things, is like, this decision, does it bring me closer to my purpose or closer to my peace? Right?
I love that.
Otherwise, it's kind of like a distraction.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's kind of just like ego, right? And sometimes you do need to go and take that vacation and that lens towards your peace. Yeah. But when you are constantly going on vacations, when you're constantly distracting yourself, you're now kind of like numbing yourself, or just really wanting to condition yourself to just experiencing the most amount of like pleasure in life. It's not necessarily peace, internal peace. But if you look at every decision between, oh, is this bringing me closer to my peace or my purpose?
Yeah.
And getting really defined on what that purpose is super important. And that purpose is likely something that's connected to that 2.0 version of yourself and how you want your life to look like at the end of the day.
100%.
Right.
I think, like, when we break it down into its most fundamental form, and I think I truly believe in my soul this is universal. And I literally have this. I ordered a custom carpet from like Norway, and it's in my office / apartment, bedroom, whatever. On the floor, it says "Be still." Like, sit in stillness. And I'm thinking about getting that like literally tattooed on my forehead, not my forehead. Mm-hmm. But the importance of stillness is something that I truly believe is the most underrated thing ever. Like, I think that is the number one thing like any human being can consciously practice on a daily basis that will change everything for them. Because everyone makes the mistake of seeking the answers externally. They think the answers are outside. They think they have to go see their top of someone, see something, have a conversation, do this, do that, do, fucking cool, do. They think they have to do things. You don't have to do anything. You have to listen. It's within. You have to sit down, ask yourself. And at first, you're not going to hear anything. Why? Because you've not trained yourself to answer your own questions. You've trained yourself to be distracted. You've trained yourself to think, you know? I'm a Christian. And my whole life, I've been around prayer. You need to pray for what you want. You need to pray to ask God. And I truly believe that's the most powerful thing. But I truly believe that there's one thing more powerful than prayer. Listening after you pray. When you pray, you ask. You're saying you want something. You're saying you want something. I want this. I pray for abundance. I pray for long life. I pray for all these things. When you sit in silence, you listen. You take. You get. You receive. You know? So there's a duality there. And I think a lot of people miss this. They miss the part where you need to just sit down. You sit down, you don't say anything, someone's going to talk to you. You're going to hear something. I've never met a single person who's meditated for over a long period of time and not heard anything. But I truly believe like that is by far, bar none, the most powerful thing.
Okay. What are some actual practical things that people can implement in their life to create that stillness in their life before they embark on actually, focusing on certain things and paths to take? How do you create that? If you're saying that stillness is one of the most important fundamental parts of like building anything or creating anything, what are like practical steps that even somebody that like could take today to be able to actually create stillness and peace in their life?
There's a funny thing, man. It's like some of the most fundamental things and solutions in your life are the most simple. People tend to look for, and I know this is not you. I know for a fact it's not you whatsoever, because you're a lead. You're a lead. But a lot of people, they try to find complicated answers to simple solutions. You know? If you want to find that stillness, just sit still and do nothing. Like, that's it. Like, sit down and practice doing nothing.
Yeah.
That's all you, like, sitting down and doing nothing. I don't know who said this quote, and I know you've heard it, and I know a lot of people have heard it. It said, most of man's problem arises from the fact that they can't sit with themselves for 5 minutes doing nothing. I would stare at walls for like 30 minutes and I'd literally just practice staring at a wall. Like I literally just practice staring at a wall. I would sit down and practice just trying not to think. And the way I did that was whenever a thought would pop up, I'd observe the thought and just let it go. I wouldn't identify with the thought and let it get me emotionally. I just watch it go by. Just practice sitting down and be bored. Like boredom is the most underrated skill in the world, man. In the world. That's why sometimes I go on a hiatus where I trying to use any social media. I'll tap to my team saying, hey, for the next 24 hours, I'm not touching any electronic devices. I'm just gonna sit down, I'm gonna lay down, close my eyes, I'm gonna go for a walk or just do nothing for an entire day. And you're gonna notice, you're gonna feel so refreshed afterwards. But it's not something that you practice once, you know? I don't wanna go off too much of a tangent, but it's something that I face every single day, and it's a realization that I came to. I thought that when I changed my life and I made a decision to like meditate or to work out or to be healthier, I thought it's a decision that I make once and that's done. Like I make the decision today. I make the decision today and I stand by it. Problem solved. Like, nah, no.
Yeah. There's a quote that maybe ties in even with Airbnb a little bit in some way, that success is never owned, it's rented, and the rent is due every single day.
That's a bar. That's a bar. Yeah. That's exactly it. You make the decision every single day again, because every single day the opportunity to go back is going to present itself. You know? So when you want to choose stillness, you want to make a decision about life, be careful about the decision that you make, because you're going to be re-asked that question every single day for the rest of your life. And the moment you decide not to answer the question, life will go back. It's going to go back, even if it's been 10 years. But what you're going to notice is the more you answer that question and you make the decision, the easier it gets to make that decision.
Yeah. And it's holding that decision, that why, right? Why you're doing it in the face of just anything that comes, right? And something that I can't even remember what book I picked this up from, but there's like this certain curve of like embarking on something new, where you basically, once you start embodying like this new identity, or this person that has these different habits, or this new business, and you start doing things that are uncomfortable, eventually you reach the top of like this curve, and you've built up so much internal like, wow, this is like so much not like me anymore, and my standard is down here, where we basically do something that self-sabotages us, that has us going downwards. So if you look at most people's kind of life, it's basically a flat, you think of just like drawing like a flat line, right? And then it's like basically a curve that goes up and down on this line, because we reach a certain low and we're like, I need to change my life. I need to do something new. And then you start doing a bunch of new things. I start going to the gym. I start doing this every single day, waking up early. But then it gets uncomfortable enough where we want to just find like pleasure in certain life. We want to self-sabotage it. When we sabotage it and we go down, and then the same cycle repeats. And then you go up and down on this certain cycle. But if you can basically be aware enough and be at this top and be like, wow, this is like really uncomfortable. I've been hitting the waking up 5 a.m., working on my business, hitting the gym every single day for multiple weeks. And I just want to like, there's a certain thing that will set me off in the other direction. Maybe it's like drinking for some people, smoking, fat food, like fast food, or whatever it might be. If you can negate that, it's like the law of like neutralization is how I learned it. If you can be at the top of the curve and you can neutralize that, be still enough of what you have, and be aware of it, and just negate those downs, you can just keep going up no matter. And then what happens is that line that originally went through all of that thing, all of those curves starts to move and be slanted like upwards. So you'll start going in this loop upwards. So it's really cool. It's negating.
Yeah, that's dope, man. And I have a similar philosophy. And this is something I actually learned like earlier this year, man. And it was the concept of the same thing that you talked about. When you reach the top of this curve, this hill, you have the inclination to want to go back. And it's simply how good can you get at bouncing back faster, Because all it is like you're just dropping. But for some people, it's like a 2-week drop. So you're good for 2 weeks, you're bad for 2 weeks. You're good for 2 weeks, you're bad for 2 weeks. You're good for 2 weeks. And that was me. It was 2 weeks. It was literally a 2-week cycle. It was genuinely a 2-week cycle. I measured it. It was good for 2 weeks, bad for 2 weeks. And then I came to the realization that it's going to be for 2 weeks. So I'll go up for 2 weeks, and I noticed, okay, this is usually around the time my last fucking 3 years have been correct, that this is where I start going down. How can I turn this 2-week cycle of downhill cycle into 1 week? Let me just practice that without self-sabotaging. And then you get to the point where you do it enough times where it's like 2 weeks and then 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 week. Okay, I've been able to be at 1 week consistently. How can I make it 2 weeks and then 3 days? 2 weeks and then 3 days. And then you get so good at that to the point where you're like, as soon as you start feeling like you're bouncing down, you can instantly, it's like a muscle, it's like a skill, where you instantly notice, oh, I'm bouncing back. And some people, and this is, I think Sam Logan said this, and this other individual said this, some people bounce back so fast, it could be within the span of an hour, where something happens and they're down for an hour, and then like, okay, I'm not gonna let this affect me for the next 2 weeks. I'm not gonna let this affect me for the next 10 days. I'm not gonna let this affect me for the next 3 days. I'm just gonna bounce back now. Because I'm gonna bounce back anyways. Like I'm gonna bounce back at some point. Would I rather it be in a week, or would I rather it be now? You could choose when you bounce back, I'd rather it be now. And you just practice that, and it becomes easier and easier. That's something that's truly worked for me.
And in that climb or that top of that graph, I think the biggest thing there is 2 certain principles. It's awareness and reflection.
100%.
Right. So it's often what people kind of skip out on, and they don't even realize they're going into this downward slope. So how important is reflection and awareness in entrepreneurship, and what certain things do you do in your life to be able to create that, to be able to negate those downs and just keep going up?
The first thing that I did was observe for a very long time. You can't fix something you can't see. You know, awareness is the most important thing. You have to have a very high degree of self-awareness and just awareness of pattern recognition, because all of that is just awareness in different forms. If you want to have any level of success, because most people are zombies, most people are sleeping every single day. Awareness is when you wake up from that trance, if you will. For me, I observed myself over a very long period of time where I'd have my highs and have my lows, and I would let myself feel the lows, because I need to know what happens when I'm in there. You know, you need to, like Carl Jung says, face your shadow. That's the shadow. That's the part that wants to self-sabotage. And if you're not aware during that self-sabotage, some people are aware at the end of it. It's that awareness that gives you the power to be. It's when you say, I have had enough. That's when you start going up. But every single moment before that statement, I've had enough, is you going downhill. Like every single moment before that is the downhill. And then you say, I've had enough, and then you go up. So if you watch yourself the entire time and say, at what level do I usually say I've had enough? And how terrible do things have to get before I say I've had enough? And I watch myself, I can now make predictions on where I'm going to go and how far it's going to take me and how long it's going to take. And then when I start having these conversations, and at every level, I'm like, okay, this usually leads to this, which usually leads to this, which usually leads to this. Okay, so now I'm here, and I've gone down a little bit, and I know where the next level is going to be. I already know what it's going to be. What can I create? What system can I create here that stops me from going here? And one of them could be telling a friend and saying, hey, I've been a little bit off my routine lately, and I wanted to let you know because I want to be accountable, but I'm going to lock in. And he's going to be like, okay, you better fucking lock in. And just telling them, just bringing that awareness to the other person. Now you have to, I don't know what it does. It kind of like alleviates that downhill path, because now somebody knows. You know what I mean? I find that when people are successful, they want everybody to know. But when things go bad, they want to hide it from the world. And it's that hiding that actually makes you go down, because you don't want anybody to know. So you feel like you're safe in your own bubble of just like negativity. So I guess it's a long-winded way of saying just awareness is the most important, because awareness is what allows you to see the pattern of when things are going down. And once you're aware of it and you reflect on why it's happening, you can now create the solutions to stop it from happening. And it could be different for anyone. But you have to test. You have to iterate, and you have to try to find that battle. And you have to learn yourself, because that's how you find yourself in the process. What works for me that gets me out of that rut faster? Because it might not be the same for somebody else.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's dig into that a second. Let's be vulnerable here for a second. Okay. What are the things, or what is something in your life right now that you feel you might be either lacking on, or something that's holding you back from getting to your vision, or the first thing that you would maybe even reach out to somebody for to hold you accountable for? Or are you just dialed and a titan of a man in all your values and principles right now?
That's an amazing question. I would say, compared to where I was 2 years ago, I'm pretty freaking dialed. I would genuinely say that, because I think the biggest thing would be, if I were to pinpoint one, it would be consistency. That's something I've battled, because like I said before, I'd be consistent for 2 weeks, and then it wouldn't be I would be inconsistent for 2 weeks. I'd be inconsistent for a month. I'd be consistent for 2 weeks and inconsistent for a month. But the thing is, I was still reaching a level of success. And then one day I sat down with myself and I said, if I could be consistent for 2 weeks and inconsistent for a month, and I can still be successful, imagine what I could do a whole month of consistency, 2 months of consistency. You know what I mean? Like, how much more powerful would I be if I just stayed more consistent? So for the last 2 years, it's simply been, how can I shorten that curve of the rut? It's gone from a month to 2 weeks, which was all of like last year and like the end of last year, to now I think it's probably about 2, 3, maybe 4 days. And then I can bring myself back. I'm always, because the thing is, I enjoy the pleasures of life. You know what I mean? I like cake, for example. Like I love my cake. Instead of saying fuck cake forever, I will say, okay, maybe once a month. Let me get it down to once a month. And then eventually I'm just not going to feel like having it. I haven't had cake in like 6 months. You know what I mean? But there's a point where I have it every month. And then I said to myself, okay, let me have it every 2 months. And then the urge absolutely just left my body. But one thing that I find is that every single time I reach a new level, there's a new problem that I have to overcome that's just as difficult. But the problem that I'm facing, like right now, the problem that I'm facing is how can I build better infrastructure around the accounting, because there's so much money coming in that I just don't know how to track where money is coming from or where it's going. That's my problem. You know what I'm saying?
That's a good problem.
It's a kind of problem that, right? But at the same time, it's different from the problems I was having a few years ago where I'd spend all my money and I'd be in debt. Now it's like, how do I manage this inflow and how can I put it accordingly? Like when I look at my weekly schedules and what I want to accomplish for the week, it's all the biggest one says compliance. My biggest problem is compliance with taxes, with fees, with all these things, with accounting, making sure that people get paid on time, making sure that I have the right system. That's my biggest problem right now. But it's not the problem that I had 6 months ago. My problem 6 months ago, I'll tell you that right now, was not how do I manage what's money coming in. You know what I mean? It was how do I stop the fucking bleeding coming out.
Yeah.
That was the problem that I was facing. But now it's a different level. So I'm never going to be in a position where I'm not going to have any problems and need to be dialed in. But I feel like me being dialed into life, I'm still going to face these problems. The problems just get bigger. They're just going to get bigger. They're just going to keep rising. But it's using the same principles that I used 6 months ago, a year ago, to overcome those faster. Because though the problems might be different, the principles in solving them are the exact same. Be still, sit, think through the solution, and then iterate and solve it. Does that make sense?
Beautiful.
What about for you?
I would, given that we're very similar people, I think mine is definitely, the consistency of things. I think it's constantly having to reform this identity because we're just constantly, leveling up, thankfully, and I'm super grateful for all of these things. And now we're dealing with, okay, too much money coming in. How do we deal with the accounting? Yeah. We need more people doing this. I need to hire more people, etc. So it's every time at this new level, just reaffirming what that, again, 2.0 version of me really lives by, right? And it's the same thing. It's coming back to my vision. So something I personally have been doing is I created like a sprint tracker, right? And I believe I work in sprints. I really felt it intuitively that, I want to just put in some crazy hours and really build this thing that's in my mind and bring it into reality. But on top of this sprint tracker, being able to see like, all those 2 weeks and where I'm, where the curve's at, it's like what is my mission, my vision, and my goals? My mission, my vision, my goals, and my standards. And I review that basically every single day. And I just built the sprint tracker, but I've been reviewing my mission, vision, and goals like just about every single day. And it usually keeps me, consistent with what I want to create and what I want to create in 6 months. Because constantly, as you're leveling up in business, you also get new opportunity, right? And opportunity from even different areas that maybe don't align 100% with the vision that you're trying to create, right? Especially when you're managing even multiple businesses like I am. I might have a good opportunity over here, another coaching, opportunity here. I can expand my Airbnb portfolio. Oh, we want to expand in this area or that area. It's really locking in on what I really want to create. And I just feel like personally, when I am just doing a sprint and just monotonously going through things, just my mind will, or my ego or whatever it might be, however you want to describe it, is looking to extract pleasure from something that's new or something that's new and shiny and inspiring.
Like novelty.
That novelty, that it will want to create that within myself. And that's where the stillness and the boredom comes in, to really just be like, I'm not going to pursue that avenue. I'm just going to sit with what I'm doing and continue and do it, which is really hard for a lot of people nowadays in general. We constantly we see things online. There's so much like data points. There's so much just stimulus showing us how other people are living their life. Oh, I want that too. I want that too. Oh, maybe this goal, if I build a to-do list towards this new thing that I saw online, maybe I can go do that. So it's just not deviating. It's staying pretty consistent with that. So, it's pretty much meditation, stillness, reviewing my mission, vision, my goals, Having a certain sprint that keeps me accountable and that I'm able to track like every single day, not really think about things. And it's also just like removing distraction. It's like just trying to just remove as much as I possibly can from my life that increases like my internal energy and my internal like bandwidth to focus on just this one certain avenue. And really success is just like subtractive, right? It's removing the certain things from our lives to get to where you want to go, right?
How important, because I love what you just said, but how important is removing things from your life? Like, would you say, if I were to ask you what is more important, adding things, skills, mindsets, actions, and doing more, or removing and subtracting?
Probably removing. Personally, for me, it's removing. I was like a kid with ADHD wanting to like conquer the world in so many different avenues, right? So I had to really put in a lot of different like rituals and practices and standards to really just kind of like, the horse with the blinders, put on to people to zone in what I really wanted to accomplish, right? So I believe one of the most like powerful ways to get to where you want to go is removing like things within your awareness, right? Willpower will only get you so far. So when you're just trying to like, you got cookies all over the place and you're trying to, focus on your diet, it's eating at your will.
So much harder.
Right? Yeah. But if you're able to remove them from your awareness, then all of a sudden I'm in this boredom. I guess the best path forward is probably what is
Right in front of me.
Right in front of me.
Yeah.
Right. So, but skills are important. So skill stacking is incredibly important, but with each skill, it takes a certain level of mastery. So it's having enough like reflection and awareness to stack those on periodically.
Yeah.
So focusing on one thing at a time,
100%.
right, for a certain period, and then stacking on more things. Once you're able to create a routine and habits within one certain thing, then you add on more layers. Once something that is no longer a thought, I want to go to the gym every single day because it's already so deeply ingrained in like my personality and my identity that it's almost automatic. Once it's automatic, then we stack on more things into my life. So it's like skill stacking in that way. But the removing process is obviously so important. It keeps you focused.
I love that. There's this saying, it's like, what was this? I literally just had it. It's like, make it so hard to lose that it's easy to win. Make it so difficult to lose that it's easy to win. So what this means is like, if you don't have any cookies in your fridge and all you have is fruit, by default, you're just going to eat fruit. You know what I mean? Like, it's now easy to eat healthy. It's easy to be healthy because you've removed all the things that make you lose. You've removed all the distractions that are easy to indulge in. And now all that's left is a bit. Does that make sense? I have weights in my apartment, like literally right beside my bed in the morning. You know what I don't have? A donut. Right? So I made it so hard for me to lose because it's right there. It's now easy because when I get up, the first thing I do is I get up and I just do push-ups and I have my weights right in front of me. Like, there's nothing else for me to do. When I look at my fridge is empty. Like, if you come to my house and you look at my fridge, you'd be disappointed. People look at my fridge like, Georgia, what is it you eat? I have eggs and then I have some chicken in the freezer. And that's it. Like, I don't have anything else in my fridge because I don't want those distractions. And now it's easy to eat healthier because all I have is all of these healthy things and all of these like just pure steak in my house. So I've made it so hard to indulge in all these things that it's actually significantly now easier to win. And I truly believe that that's a philosophy that we should all embark on.
And food is so, like, first off, so important. Like, honestly, it's a fundamental. If you're able to, master the food portion, you are what you eat. And, if you're like matching yourself like a Ferrari, right? That 2.0 version, if you're a Ferrari, you're not going to like fill it with the cheapest gas, whatever. I mean, you need to be fueled by the most proper stuff, which lends towards your energy. How important is energy and creating energy and output in your life? And how do you cultivate that? How do you increase your just natural ability to output? Yeah. And not be like driven by laziness or feeling tired all the time, also motivated, etc.
Are you asking?
Yeah, man.
Oh, okay. I think for me, man, it's like you said, it's that why. Do I always feel like being motivated? No. Like 90% of the time, I'm not motivated. Do I always feel like doing the thing? Most of the time, I don't feel like doing the thing. But I've learned, and I've spent a lot of time studying, reflecting, reading, and I've learned that motivation shouldn't be the main reason that you do something. Reason being is because motivation is fleeting. Like there's actually a study that people or motivation is I forgot the exact study or the exact thing, but motivation is a depleting resource. It's actually depleting. Like if you've had a very long day at work and things were tough and you yelled at somebody and your boss, like just say your boss yelled at you and everything went wrong, at the end of the day, the level of motivation you have is so low that anything that might cause you to go back into your old habits, it's so easy for you to fall for. Whereas in the morning, your level of motivation is significantly higher, so it's easy for you to be disciplined. So putting my future and using motivation to rely on the achievement of my future, you're actually setting yourself up for failure because it's not something that you can rely on. It's a ground that one moment it's there and the moment it's gone. Have you been motivated your entire life? No. Some days you wake up and be like, oh, fuck this, you know? So motivation, I learned, is not the best metric. It's hunger and drive and your why. Because those, no matter what happens, those remain. If I want to retire my mom, whether I'm motivated or not, my mom still needs to be retired, you know? If I want to take care of my cousin, take care of my family, whether I feel like it or not, those things need to be done. Whether I am super motivated and super happy and super enthralled with life or not, my employee needs to get paid, so I better put in the work because she needs to feed your family. You know what I'm saying? So that hunger for life, finding that strength, that will to live, that will take you so much further than anything else. And I think that's like your life source. When you're aligned with your source of life, with your why, with your reason for existence, think of that like a source of fuel that will never diminish. That source of fuel, also known as abundance, having that soul of abundance, it's so powerful that you can give it to people and you'll still be full. You can share it with the world and it will never take away, ever. Because it's self-perpetuating. It self-grows, it self-organizes itself. You go to sleep, you think about it, it's back. You know what I'm saying? You're lazy, you're feeling like lethargic, you're feeling tired. I gotta retire my bloodline. It just comes back. That is my source of fuel, and it's always there, always there. No matter how much I try to like forget about it, it's always there. And I can act, and I can like ignore it, and I can try, but it's literally always there. And you get to the point where you feed it. And the moment you try to step away from it, it just sucks you in. Like, no, motherfucker, this is what we want to do. You said you want to do this. It's here now. This is it. Let's go. So that's been my motivating factor, my pull, if you will.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's almost like two-part in a sense. I always look at it in terms of two parts. Like you can almost, in a way, also manufacture motivation almost every single day. One, by reviewing your goals and really having that established.
I agree with you.
But it's also, once you have like a certain vision for your life and where you want to take it, what you want to do, it's kind of really hard to execute on these goals if you're eating McDonald's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You have an irregular sleep schedule. You carbs and sugar constantly. You're stuck in brain fog. You let everybody else, you say yes to absolutely everything. And so there's like certain like principles and standards, I think, that manufacture energy. So I think one of the two most powerful things I feel like is one, having your why and having your drive and what's your mission, but also protecting your energy. And both of these two things together like lead to your output. So even like me personally, I am constantly trying to think about how can I remove as many things from my life and say no to the things that will eventually like drain my energy so I can focus this energy in And energy is like super important. You can even, it can leak in ways that you don't even think about. So even staying present, right? Like when we think about the past, when we think too much about the future, we're not in the present and we're leaking energy into these thoughts. When we're thinking about this, like, oh, breakup that we got into, you're spending your mental energy on this certain thing that you can no longer allocate towards something else. How can I create more internal, just feeling good? Oh, my diet. If I stay away from carbs and sugar,
Just gonna naturally feel.
you naturally feel better. Oh, if I fast at a certain point of the day and I'm not constantly digesting food and I'm constantly processing this and having my body do that and I feel kind of sluggish. How can, my circadian rhythm. If I wake up at a certain time and if I go to sleep at a certain time, all of a sudden my body naturally wants to be really productive at this certain period of the day. If I'm working out constantly, it gives me actually energy to do certain things. It's like all of these little things just lend towards energy. And once you have energy that can be applied towards that motivation, you just become a machine.
1000%. I agree with you. And you've actually enlightened me in a certain way because you're right. For me, it's been this energy is the founding principle of everything that I do. But the actions I take and the principles I have is what allows me to keep it and be as clear as possible. Because if I do eat terrible food every single day, this energy, though it might be there, I won't be able to see it because my mind is so foggy. You know, my body is so sluggish. It's like, think of it like a frequency. The energy, that state of always being locked in, if you will, or aligned, it's a frequency that's here. But what happens when you stray off the path, aren't as disciplined, don't follow your principles, you actually lower your frequency. So a point where like it's always there, but you've moved away from it. So you're right, because as you create principles for yourself, and then you follow those principles for yourself, what happens is you and that energy are genuinely, literally like in lockstep. Like you are one in one, because you can maintain that frequency, you can maintain that energy level, and you can stay. And it's just like now you see each other clearly. It's like a mirror. It's like a mirror. So you're right.
Mm-hmm. I love how we've been talking about like philosophy and just the inner world and energy and motivation and everything. Why don't we like take a step back and also talk about Airbnb for a minute? I'd love to hear what your personal goals are in terms of the Airbnb space and what's up for you next. Like what are you focused on going forward?
That's a great question. So there's a concept called the meta business. Have you heard of that concept, the meta business? The meta business is basically like you have a business, and then, because what most people do is they'll have a business, and then when they reach a measure of success, they want to start another business, and a whole other business that has nothing to do with the first business, and then their business suffers for it, right? A meta business is basically using the business that you already have as a foundation to create other business that supplement that first business. So as this grows, and it can essentially sort of like feed each other, right? Like coaching, for example, or hiring or buying or acquiring cleaning company. All of those are meta businesses, right? Or having a management company. If you're doing arbitrage, having a co-hosting a management company, buying real estate. Like all of these are meta businesses that you can use within your business. So my goal has always been to grow my Airbnb business and have properties all over the world. My goal is to have at least 5 properties in every major country in the world by the time I'm 35 or 40. So honestly, I don't even have a timeline for it. It's a goal that I want to accomplish in my lifetime. Even when I'm 50 or 60, I still want to be doing it and have a portfolio of thousands of properties, and we'll start buying properties. So that's a goal that I have, that I've worked so hard in the beginning to move and to create the momentum. Then now it's starting to flow without me needing to like actively be there. I just have to be there to make sure things go the right way and set the finding principles and the guidance and the direction for the company. But that's the goal that I have for the Airbnb space. The other significant goal that I have, which is something that I really came to mind as of last year, was the fact that to grow this and to get this to where I need to go, I need to have a skill set that I really don't have, which is accounting and bookkeeping. I don't have that skill set, and it's not something that interested me significantly. And it's something that I saw that a lot of people face within their business as well, because Airbnb has a way of attracting people who are very, very good at like hospitality, very good at planning, but not very specifically good at like accounting or getting into the weeds of specific things. And I've seen that across the board, especially when we look at Airbnb's marketing, for example. Airbnb's marketing is you have a listing, Airbnb. You're a travel nurse, Airbnb your home. Like you could just do Airbnb and talk to, like, it's very front facing, hospitality heavy, and it's not back end operations heavy at all. Like even Airbnb's marketing, it doesn't attract operational people. Does that make sense? So I'm one of those people that was attracted that wasn't very operational, if you will, in terms of like my accounting, my bookkeeping, and tracking the numbers and just seeing how things going. And Airbnb is one of those businesses where if your numbers aren't optimized or you're not tracking them, your business will still continue, but it'll be a slow death because you won't know. Let me give you an example. If you're making $5,000 a month, okay, every single month, and your expenses are $5,010, you're gonna feel like you're making money every single month for 5 years until one day it all nets, because those $10 losses will add up. It might not be in the first month, it might not be in the first year, it might be in 5 years, it might be in 10 years, but one day you wake up, you're like, I can't pay any of my bills. And I've seen that, and I recently just had a situation that happened with somebody that I know, actually. They had started Airbnb about a year ago. They worked with the company, I'm not gonna name the company, and I was looking at the numbers. Initially, I looked at the numbers when they were getting started up, but I didn't coach this person. So I'm like, who am I to tell them how to run their business, right? And I let the numbers out. These numbers just don't make sense. They genuinely make sense. But I said, what do I, like, maybe there's something that I'm missing, because like I don't know everything. I've only been in this for 3 years, and come a couple of days or a couple of weeks ago, that exact same thing happened where they just couldn't catch up with their bills. It used to take a week late, then became a week and a half late, then it became 2 weeks late, then it became 3 weeks late, then it became a month late. And then, we're now 2 months behind. You know what I'm saying? So I know I'm kind of ranting on. So that led me to build the software, Magic BNB, which we've talked about a couple of times. And essentially the purpose of this software is to essentially track all of your internal numbers in the back end that you need to do manually, like you're counting your costs, your expenses, property performance, profit margins. And it does that all for you. And then it just tells you, so that you don't have to go looking for it. It's there. It's all right there in front of you. And then we have the AI embedded, which is Milo, which now think of it like your operating system, your AI assistant, like your chief of operations. That's like all the numbers get downloaded into its soul. It's not like it has to remember it. It becomes part of its own being, so that when you ask it, it knows exactly what's going on. It looks at the trends. It's always 24/7 on, looking at all the trends and all the numbers of your business. And it's able to understand it at a level that most humans can't, because you have to spend 24 hours every single day, especially when at a 20 listings, 30 listings, 40 listings, 50 listings. You basically need 1 or 2 people who are just looking at the numbers all day, so that when something pops up that is an expense that might cause problems later, it catches it instantly. So instead of having a human do that, you have this system that can do that on your behalf. And then when there's ever any anomalies, instead of it going unnoticed, even if it's a $20 anomaly that happens every single month, instead of it going unnoticed for 6 months or a year, costing you thousands of dollars, it tracks it instantly, and then you can make adjustments faster. And I know this allows people like myself, and also people like you as well, to not have to worry about too much about the numbers and the details, and fully focus on growing, scaling, ideating, and building, while you have your rules that, okay, no, I can't spend this much because my profits are like this. I can't do this, but I can do this. Does that make sense? So that's my vision for the short-term mental space. That's what we're looking to build, and we have a lot of it built out already. And it's been nothing but good feedback ever since. And I already use it right now, and it's not even fully built yet.
Okay. And you mentioned wanting to have like 5 Airbnbs every country. What are your goals for your software? Do you have a certain goal that you want to? Oh, are you creating for yourself, or are you creating for others, or?
Amazing question. I built this initially for myself because I was having this problem. But then because there's 2 parts of the software. The first part, the part that I just spoke about is the part that we're actually just building. The first part was a calculator that helps me calculate and essentially underwrite deals and look at the profit margins, because there's not really any really good tools that will give you what is my profit, like after my costs, utilities, cleaning, like maintenance, how much do I take home every month? There's not a lot of tools that actually do that. So I built that for that reason. And when I built it, I had hundreds of students who were all literally, like, all of them just couldn't finalize a property because they just weren't certain of the numbers. I had people closing deals left, right, and center once I had that software because you give them the confidence. It's like if you want your deal to be a 20% profit margin, there's no rocket science. Your cleaning cost needs to be this. Your average revenue needs to be this, which you can do because these are the numbers that you've been able to provide. Your utilities need to be this. You need to negotiate down to this. You do this, you're getting your deal. And now all you got to focus on is making more money. But now you know that your worst case scenario, you're profitable 20%. So now they have this listed out right in front of them. Like, this is the number. This is what it's going to be. Now they can execute. Now it no longer needs to be an emotional a decision. It could be a factual decision. So I built that, and then I used it for myself, loved it. I started giving it to students. They started absolutely loving it, especially the AI component, where you can now talk to the AI and ask it, hey, like, what do you think of this deal? Is this a good deal? How can I increase my profit margins? What are some costs that what costs should I reduce? How can I make more money? What should I add to this house? It will tell you this is a seasonal market. In this market, most houses have these amenities. You should add these amenities. They might increase the revenue about $50, $100 a night. And now it gives you all these tools, and people started loving it. So then that's when I had my aha moment that I can now build a software, a tool that solves my problem. But I realized that a lot of people have very similar problems in this space. So this software, and I'm not kidding, is going to revolutionize how people analyze and run their business in the back end completely, because it basically automates the entire thing. My goal is to get this in front of as many people's hands as possible and make it a must-have, just like you have a spreadsheet or just like you have Airbnb or property management system. You have this tool, this software that will now track everything on your behalf and then give you notifications when things need to be changed, and then eventually it will just make those changes for you. All of that to say, and I'm gonna end it off with this because I know I've been going for a while, but I'm so passionate about these things.
See it. Love it.
AI is gonna replace humans. It's gonna replace humans. It's gonna replace humans. It's gonna replace entire infrastructure, entire industries. Okay? I am very certain, and I'm banking and I'm betting my entire life on this. Within the next 5 to 10, maybe even 15 years, you won't need to work, because you can have an AI that does everything for you, but the AI doesn't need money. So you can build an entire infrastructure where it's basically like exporting my brain, my operational brain of running a business, training a digital conscious model, which is an AI. AI is digital consciousness. And if people haven't realized that, then you need to wake up, because that's what it is. It's literally digital consciousness. Not to the same extent of human consciousness, but it's something that we've created that works, and its reality is digital. So it can do whatever we can do in the digital space. And we're very limited with our fingers. AI just thinks, and it can go and do these things. We can now build these infrastructures, and these infrastructures will be able to replace human beings. I'm building a specific AI that will help you understand your entire business and then run your business on your behalf. And then you just collect the profits, because it's productivity. Productivity equals profitability. The more productive you are, like true productivity, then the more profit that you will be able to keep and make in your business. And then you can keep that. So this business is the first, I want to say, tier, or the first evolution towards that end goal. So that's what we're about.
People say that we're entering like an AI revolution, right? And I honestly believe that. I believe that statement. And a lot of people are kind of like fearing for their jobs, that they will be replaced. And a constant question that I keep getting asked on, calls, people wanting to do coaching with me in general, is just, will AI hurt or help the Airbnb business? Mm-hmm. And is it safeguarded against the revolution, or will it just be able to use AI to strengthen it?
Amazing question. It depends on how you look at it. There's a duality for everything. For every good, there's bad. For every bad, there's good. You know what I mean? AI, at the end of the day, what I believe, look at nature, okay? Has nature ever made a mistake in the grand scheme of things? No. Nature doesn't make mistakes. That's why it's nature. It's been around for millions of years. So what we think might be a mistake, we look at a tornado or a forest fire and we say, oh my God, that's terrible. When we look at the grand scheme of things, that was always meant to happen, whether we emotionally think it should have or not. AI is the natural evolution of what humans were going to create. You leave humans alone long enough, AI is always going to be a thing. Always. In any timeline, you leave humans long enough with certain tech, and with curiosity, they're always going to build something like this. Because what we're trying to do to an extent is basically, I want to say, offload and automate thinking. In a way, a lot of these thinking processes that can do it faster, but also be more productive and get to our goals faster. I think AI is going to help humans because what it allows you to do is it allows you to turn an idea, a thought in your head into reality faster. 100 years ago, 10 years ago, if I want to build a software company, I need 25 developers. I need a whole team. So for me to turn this idea into reality, like there's so much friction between me and the creation because I can't do it by myself. Like I need external forces to help me do this thing. Does that make sense? Now with AI, I can turn a thought, give it to an AI model, and eventually the AI model is going to create it for me. I just need to know what I'm thinking. So the value isn't going to be what you can create. The value is going to be how creatively you can think. The more creative your thoughts will be, because now anybody can create anything, you know? Like you having a skill is not going to matter very soon. It's how creative can you think? How outside the box can you think? Can you think of something that hasn't been done yet? You build the skill set of thinking, you're going to be able to create anything. And now that's where the value is going to be. So I think it's inevitably going to benefit a lot of people, but it's only going to benefit the people who see this or aware enough to realize it in order to act on it to build something for themselves. That's what I think.
Wow.
What do you think? What about you?
I think AI is just, we are probably in the slowest times. We're like in, you know, right before the computer was invented. I think that's how powerful AI is just going to impact our lives. I mean, it's already just kind of devastating different, you know, industries across the board. So it's really just, it comes to us as, you know, operating it. I really think it just comes down to our thinking. How can we implement and use this tool within our lives to help expedite the process, right, of us getting towards our goals? So I think I just personally, even within my own like business, so much of what I'm doing has already been taken over by AI.
Yeah.
Right. You know, I'm fortunate to say we got rid of a virtual assistant today, being very real, because there's just no need. It's just all of the certain things that this person was doing just is completely can be handled by AI in a matter of a couple hours, right? So I really think it really is on us to ask the right questions and implement it in the right way, that it really just pushes us forward. And the more that we push AI away, the more just we are going to be furries.
100%. Can I be with you for a second? Yeah. I think AI, what it has done, it has removed laziness. Like you can't get away with being lazy anymore. I think that's simply what's happening. Like people used to be able to take care of themselves and make money doing absolutely nothing. Like not even using their brains. And for a certain amount of time, we thought that was okay. Okay, you don't use your brain, just do something absolutely useless that has no actual like use to society. Like imagine your whole job, your entire job. Like think about this, okay? You're a human being created to think, to move, to have self-awareness. Like the likelihood of you existing is like 1 in a billion. The likelihood of you as like a human being existing is 1 in a billion. And all you do all day is move a box. A trillion. Yeah. And all you do all day is move a box from here to here. Think about that. All you do all day. Like you that was created in your own special way to have your own special skill sets, to be able to do anything and have the world in your hands, you move a box from here to here. And all you do all day for 8 hours a day, get paid $15 an hour, is move a box. That's a waste. And if you're a box mover, I believe in you more than you probably believe in yourself. And I'm going to say that because we are so special to move a box. We don't even, like that. You could be doing so many different things with the mind that you have in this reality. To move boxes, no. So you're not going to be able to get away with that anymore. You're going to be forced to think. People are going to be forced to grow. People are going to be forced into self-development. Like you're going to be forced. Nature is phasing out people who aren't into self-development. I think that's what's happening.
Yeah, and it's also right now phasing out like coding, different tech fields. But what happens when it becomes so powerful that we can be implanting like AI into actual like autonomous like beings, I guess, or into like machinery, into actual like people are thinking even like the physical things of life are safe, but just like you mentioned, just the box moving, there's going to be a robot moving that box.
100%.
Right. So we really have to be like strategic on how we think and how we apply AI into our lives, how we can help make us move into a position much higher so that as things are just as it's just advancing so much, we're going to be in a little bit of a safer spot because we're actually using it. It's like you either hate them or you join them.
Exactly.
Right. And I really think you have to join them because most of everything's going to be replaced. Oh, if truckers, all of a sudden you're going to have your trucks. Trucks are already being driven in the trucking field was already taking a hit.
Walmart and Tesla have had a deal, I think since 2019, and that they're going to replace like half their truckers with Tesla's trucks. It's been around for like almost 7 years now, that deal.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. I agree with you, man. And I truly believe that at the end of the day, this is happening whether we like it or not. And Tony Robbins said this. He said one of the biggest skills you can have is pattern recognition. To be able to sit down objectively, emotions aside, and look at the world and really just like study the world, study reality and see what is happening, what are the trends, where is the world going, how are things moving. If most people don't even know what the World Economic Forum is, where it's the most powerful companies in the world. I'm talking about like the Sikhs of Dubai, BlackRock, Vanguard, the biggest governments, all the tech companies, the what is it called? The world, and I think it's like the world's army.